Some breaking news just coming in. As the president is digging in his heels on his growing trade war with China, we are learning that he is taking at least a temporary step back from his threat to increase tariffs on cars coming in from Europe. CNN is learning that the president is now planning to delay any new tariffs on European car imports by 6 months. And the markets apparently are welcoming that news as the Dow is now shifting into positive territory today. Meanwhile, I want to read a quote for you. This. It's going to have some impact on elections, of course. So far, I haven't seen farmers abandoning Trump, but it's going to have some impact. That is from Republican Senator Chuck Grassley from Iowa, who has emerged as a chief critic of the president's trade policies in this fight. He's one example of the growing unease among some Republicans about Trump's escalating trade war with China. But the Washington Post also reports that the president believes his showdown with Beijing is actually going to help him win re-election. And yesterday, speaking with reporters, the president could not have been more optimistic about how he thinks this all is going to turn out.
Yeah, we're winning it. You know what? You want to know something? You want to know something? We always win. We always win.
But some folks who aren't feeling Trump's optimism right now are American farmers, and they are stuck in the middle of all of this. You might remember last summer I spoke with Christopher Gibbs. He's an Ohio farmer who said that Trump's trade policies were hurting him and that he was not going to stay quiet about it. Listen to that interview.
Farmers are tough. We don't run, we don't spook, we don't hide. That's fine. But that doesn't mean we can't speak out on policy that's pretty much ill-advised. From my view, hey, I can take it, sure, but I don't have to be quiet about it. You know, the president calls it like he sees it. I'm going to call it like I see it.
And Christopher Gibbs joins me once again from Ohio. It's good to see you, Christopher. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Kate. Thanks for having me in sunny Ohio for once.
For once, as we were discussing, you call it like you see it. I think that's what a lot of people appreciated about our last conversation and the pieces that you've written for your paper. How are you seeing it today, right now?
Well, we're in a free fall out here in agriculture. We've seen 30% decrease in prices of soybeans. And this isn't all about soybeans. You know, the markets work in three different ways. It's like a three-legged stool. There's the technicals with stochastics and this and that. And there's also the fundamentals, which is supply and demand. But the third leg is market confidence. And if the technicals are X and the fundamentals are Y, then market confidence says that the market should move or stay static in a certain predictable behavior. And with the geopolitical turmoil that the president has thrown into the mix over the last year, the markets just don't have anywhere to go, so they're just sitting and hiding. And we've seen a little bit of bump up in the last couple of days, but other than that, we're in a shape out here, and we're hurting.
In a free-for-all. Let me play you, with that in mind, something that the president said this week that really stuck out to me and I wanted to ask you about. Listen to this, please.
We love our farmers. We take care of our farmers. Our farmers have been incredible. No country can get in the way of our farmers. Our farmers are great patriots, and they've done a fantastic job. So our farmers are going to be very well taken care of.
The government paid out $12 billion in assistance to help farmers last year. At that point, you called that a bridge too far when we talked. Now they're trying to plan another round, something like $15 billion. What do you say to that, Christopher?
Well, the same thing I did before, and I need to put a clarifier on this. I ended up taking the money, so I had to take it. It was $20,000 to me. $14,000 of it went to repair a tractor transmission. $2,000 of it went to a nonprofit or two, and the rest of it back for taxes. So I didn't take it and buy a boat with it. But what I said at that time works today as well. Is that it was an indication that the president's policy wasn't working, or it certainly wasn't working fast enough. And now the president comes back and wants to put an additional amount of money in our pocket. And we have to understand where that money is coming from. Up until yesterday, the president has been very clear that all of these tariff dollars that he wants to transfer to farmers have been coming from China and from Mexico and Canada and so forth, but primarily from China. That's just not true. It's just not true. Those monies, those tariff dollars, come directly from American importers, from American companies that hire American workers, that pay American taxes. And when those dollars, when you buy goods from China to send out to U.S. consumers, those companies pay that, and then they turn around and push that out to consumers to pay. So the president might push out more money to farmers, but let's be clear of where it's coming from, and let's let the taxpayer know that it's not coming from China, and they need to know it. And it's appreciated by farmers, for sure, but we would rather have trade. We'd rather have our markets back.
That's for sure. I mean, we talked last time. You voted for President Trump. You liked his, I remember you saying, you liked his can-do, get-it-done attitude. So now, in this moment, when you say you're in a free fall, what is your message to him?
Well, my message is that certainly I did, and I'll say it again, I voted for the president just because of that. But I was on the Trump train, I was off the Trump train, back and forth. I finally got off at Helsinki because Helsinki was a mess to me. I couldn't stand the waffling and all of that with Putin. So I'm off the Trump train. Where I'm going for now is I got to protect my business. You know, a minute ago, the president, you played a clip that he said that we were patriots. Well, I'll tell you what, to me, that's just a design to make me continue to be quiet, and I'm not going to be quiet.
You know what, Christopher? That is
patriot
actually something.
I got to protect my family.
I got to ask you, that is so interesting that you heard that and you brought that up, because that is something I have also heard, if we want to call these in chapters, something new about this chapter is I have heard the president and other Republicans talk about this in terms of sacrifice and patriotism. There's a senator from Arkansas, Tom Cotton, who spoke to this directly this week. Okay, listen to this, please, because I do want to get your reaction. I think this is important.
When I'm home in Arkansas, I hear from farmers who are worried about opening up new markets and getting their products to market, but they also understand that China is a serious competitor to the United States and wants to displace us around the world. And they look at the sacrifices that soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines make around the world, and they're willing to bear some of those sacrifices in the short term to hopefully in the long term ensure our long-term prosperity and security.
You speaking out against a trade war, is that unpatriotic, Christopher?
No, it's certainly not unpatriotic at all. And I'm not going to have my, certainly not going to have my patriotism questioned. I'm not sure why the president's even bringing this up. Listen, for me to be a patriot, the best thing I can do is to take care of my family, to take care of my farm, and make sure that I stay viable. Because farmers buy things. They buy things that are manufactured. And by the way, you know what we buy? We buy things made out of steel. We buy things made out of aluminum. So that's our duty, and why the farming community has to take one in the shorts just so that the president can have a talking point and be tough on China, just is a little bit beyond me.
Yeah. Well, I always appreciate your perspective, and it is great to see you again. Thank you for coming in. Let's talk soon.
More than welcome. Take care.
Thank you so much. Christopher Gibbs, out of Ohio.